Good morning. Hello. Oh my gosh. All right, the light. I don't love. Let me adjust. So first of all, I kind of wanted. Let me move my stuff out of the way. Everything's a mess right now because I have a shelf in my it's in my laundry closet because my laundry closet is also my pantry. Like it's literally meant to be the pantry. I live in a condo, so all that stuff. But the one of the shelves fell a couple of nights ago at like 1:30 in the morning. It scared the bejesus out of me, and it wasn't even like heavy. Like there wasn't a whole lot on it, but it straight up fell. And so now I have like all this stuff out and I need to replace it, which is hard right now because I have an event that I am going to be working at for my little side business that I have. And that is coming up in, oh, 1 to 3 weeks, in 3 weeks. And so it's my first one ever. So I have a lot of like things that I need to buy. I've already spent this month, I spent like over $100 just trying to get prepared for it. And then last month I spent maybe not $100, but somewhere close to there. And so I just don't have a whole lot of money. So I'm kind of like, do I need a new shelf to put in my laundry closet right now? Not really. I wouldn't say it's an emergency. So I guess for the month of April, I will just be putting up with stuff like powdered sugar on my table. So yeah, it's just a little messy, but it's fine. I also don't eat at my kitchen table, which is where I'm at right now. So it's not a huge deal. Also, I'm doing laundry today. I have a ton of laundry to do. It is spring break for me. And so I'm trying to catch up on laundry. I do a load every week, just one. However, there's some stuff for the event coming up in 3 weeks. I can't believe it's 3 weeks already. And just other things like I try to wash my bed sheets at least once a month, if not twice. And so I need to do those. I have towels, socks, things that I use on a daily basis that like I only have so many. I don't need an excessive amount of socks. Even though I wear them like just about every day, like even in the summertime I usually wear socks because I'm not a big sandal wearer. Also, I really wanted to show the background. You can't really see it. It's not the best lighting ever. In fact, can I change this lighting? Oh, letting things adjust. I'm having issues. I don't know. Okay, we're not gonna play with it anymore. I just put on my light to have a little bit better lighting this morning, and it's all right. Anyways, I wanted to show the background. I know that's going to create a lot of like backlight. That's really why I wanted that, because it's raining outside and it's during the day, and I love rain during the day. I just think it's so pretty. Also, where I live, I'm surrounded by a lot of trees. I don't want to say woods. That's stretching it, but I'm surrounded by trees on like two sides. Um, so when it rains during the day, everything is just like so green, and I love it. Um, yeah, and I think the ambiance of rainfall is very pleasant. So, anyways, this week talking about type fours. So talking about myself, which I both love and I am also embarrassed by. Um, so I tried to plan a little bit more this week about like what specifically I'm gonna say. Because I also realized in the past, I like talking about the Enneagram and obviously I can ramble, but I didn't always give like advice and next steps. And I'm like, that's kind of what I want to pull from different Enneagram experts. Like I want to be able to give advice to people, whether that's for themselves or like for someone else they know who is that type. And so I think I know I did a little bit last week with type fives. Um, but I think starting with type nines, I don't really think I did that. It was just more discussion based, which is fine. But in the future, I want to make sure I'm kind of giving some next steps. Also, I've got tea this morning, kind of a tea latte. I have that the winter wake up tea because it is like 45 degrees outside. Like yesterday, it was like 80. So weird. The high is 48 today. Um, so I've got winter wake up tea and I put it's like unsweetened vanilla almond milk. I frothed it, put it in there. So it's good in my cute little mug from like Pier One, which is really funny. Um, I think I just saw this with my mom and I was like, I really want it. So I bought it many, many years ago. So also something I'm proud of myself for this week. Um, I will say this is kind of hard, kind of a stretch, but I am proud of myself for not allowing myself to get as frustrated and embarrassed. I would say embarrassed and then frustrated um, while I was with my BF this past week. So a little bit of context. It's break, and so I planned a vacation to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is that's where I went to college at at UNC School of the Arts, and it's Winston is also like my favorite place in the world, and even after this past week, I still love Winston-Salem so so much. And so I went, and my boyfriend, of course, was invited, but we weren't sure if he was going to be able to come because of all this other stuff in his life. And he was able to come, which was awesome. So we went up there, and I needed to. There's a couple of things like I needed to film for my little side business. There's some filming that needed to happen, and it really didn't take long. It took like I said it was going to take an hour. It probably took like an hour and a half. It was a less than 2 hour thing. Um, so very easy. And also my boyfriend has been nothing but supportive with this side business. So like he honestly like never even gave me any inclination that he was like not happy or disappointed. He's also type 5 and he's really good at not setting expectations. So I would say he's very good with the flow, especially on vacation. So I really appreciated that. However, I know in the past, even with him, and especially when I was, in my like 20s, I would get very, like, I would feel very embarrassed. And that's actually it's type 4 thing. We can often feel like we're too much. And that is our childhood message that we were directly or indirectly told was like, I am too much. And so you feel like you have all these feelings and you're not allowed to express them. And so you go between expressing them because you're a human being, and then feeling ashamed. And then you don't express anything, but then you express them again. And like you have a push pull dynamic, like just in your life, and you do it with relationships. And so, um, that is something that I have done with my boyfriend before. Um, and not very long drawn out ways, like more like it was like a moment or like it was like an hour where I was maybe doing a push pull thing where because I was ashamed of having shown an emotion or something. And so with this whole filming thing that happened while we were on vacation, it wasn't so much a feeling that I had, it was more like I was expressing something that I wanted or needed. Like I wanted to film. I was like, I want to film. I told him about it. I prepared him for it. Like, I think I did what is courteous and kind to let someone know, like, I'm going to be doing this. And he was fine with it. Um, And so I did at a certain points feel embarrassed. And I did tell him, like, hey, I'm sorry this took like over an hour for us to do. I said it was going to be 1 hour. It's clearly been over an hour, but we are almost done. And he was like, okay, it's fine. Like he's again very go with the flow. So I even though I had those moments of like shame, I didn't let myself just get embarrassed by the shame. So I handled it a lot better. So I'm very proud of myself for doing that. So you guys go ahead and share whatever you're proud of in the comments because it's a big deal. Even if it's something that like no one else noticed, like this past week, like it's still something to be proud of and to know it's kind of like a thing you put in your toolbox for when you are feeling down. You're like, you know what? I have done this before, so I can do it. I think that's a good thing. So I'm going to take a little bit more tea. Still not crazy about this lighting. I need to like perfect it. Also the hair. What are we doing? Oh, that's it. It's so bright. Oh, it's very bright. Oh, it's very bright. Oh, it's very bright. It's just so okay. Well, actually, that's a now that it's adjusted, I kind of like it. Anyways, if you have tips for lighting, please let me know. Because sometimes I just put this stuff together so quickly that I don't do it well. All right, so type fours. Um, some things to know about type fours. They have a core desire to be special, unique, and to be like worthy human beings. They have a fear that they are defective or flawed in some way. And I would say like irredeemably flawed or like unfixable. They also have a fear that they are too much. Their childhood message is like, you are too much. Trying to think what else would be a really good thing to share. I think that's about it. Um, and yeah, I would say they're very motivated by this need to be kind of the only one. A saying I like to use for type fours, particularly for myself, is that like we want to be Tigger, we want to be the only one, but we are inevitably Eeyore. And I love it's so funny because like I grew up loving Eeyore, like he was my favorite like Winnie the Pooh character. And as an adult, I'm like, oh, he's totally a four. I mean, if you could type any of them, he would definitely be a four. Tigger would be like a seven. Um, we won't go into all that. Actually, I did do that on my Instagram page like a long time ago. I think over a year ago. I typed all the Winnie the Pooh characters. So I'll have to go find that and like repost them because they were cute. But yeah, we want to be Tigger. We want to be the only one, but we are inevitably Eeyore. I think we look at things type fours can look at things pretty realistically. And if it's not realistic, then it's like an idealized version of what they want, which can be which can be inspiring. I think that's really when we are idealizing things, we're really pulling from like a three wing. And I think when we're absolutely realistic and maybe not so popular, which sounds kind of bad, but like it's fine. Maybe not so having a not so popular opinion is when we're pulling from like a five wing. So that's some things to know about type fours. I did find some like really good quotes today from type fours. And then I wanted to go through like the subtypes and then some next steps. So I thought this was really interesting. So again, I keep forgetting to say this because I know it's been many, many weeks. I'm reading The Complete Enneagram by Beatrice Chestnut. And she says in the Type 4 chapter that things usually started out well, but at some specific point in time, the 4 child experienced some sort of abandonment or deprivation. And to make sense of this loss and to achieve some sense of control in light of it, the young 4 unconsciously became convinced that they somehow caused it. I am an older child, so honestly, hearing that statement doesn't surprise me because I think a lot of older children kind of like bear the weight or bear the brunt of um, something from their parents. And I will also say a lot of these, the early coping strategies, or anything that you hear in that kind of realm from any Enneagram expert, not just Beatrice Chestnut, it can often sound like you had an awful child that like maybe you don't remember. And it's really not true. Like when she says that a type 4 child experienced some sort of abandonment or deprivation. I was not abandoned. I have 2 parents. They are still married. They have been together since high school. They get along most of the time, but I think like a normal married couple who's been married for over 30 years, yes, they have arguments. No, they don't always see eye to eye. But no, it doesn't mean that they don't love each other. They do. They do care about each other. I think being separated or being divorced might actually be really difficult for them because they wouldn't know what to do with themselves. You know what I mean? Um, I am pretty confident in their relationship. So when this talks about like abandonment, um, my parents didn't abandon me at any point. But I will say, when I was 3 years old, I had a sister who was born, and this is actually a very normal thing. Like, I feel embarrassed to say this, but this is actually like very normal in a lot of development of children. Is like, I'm 3 years old. My parents had another child who, understandably, they had to give a lot of attention to because this is a baby who can't walk, can't feed herself. It's a girl. And she does identify as a girl. So the feeling of abandonment would have been very normal. Like that is a very normal thing for me. And it's the way I interpreted that situation. Like my parents love someone more than me because for the first 3 years of my life, all the attention went to me. And I will say, like, I think something that's contributed is like being a redhead, being a natural redhead. My entire life, I have gotten so much attention for my red hair. And so I've gone between, you know, feeling like my parents probably love someone else more than me, but then these strangers talking about how wonderful my red hair is. Um, and so there was always this like, and especially even as a child, because as a child, people have no problem coming up and touching your hair, which is the weirdest thing. Don't ever touch a redhead's hair. Don't touch anyone's hair without their permission. Like, it's just like too much. Like, it's very like disrespectful of boundaries. You should be respectful. So I think just going between like, I feel abandoned by my parents, but all these strangers love me. Like it was like a push pull thing. It felt like I'm worthy and I'm not worthy. And so I think that really contributed early on. That contributed to me becoming a type 4. So let's do some more things. So something that is a type 4 strength is the ability to um, face strong emotions. A weakness is the ability to cover up emotions that you don't want with other emotions. So, for example, um, you can cry and vent in front of me, and like I will do my best to have the utmost empathy for you and to be the best listener I can be in that moment. I am not perfect, and I feel like I'm always working on being a better listener. Um, but yeah, like I like crying in front of me, like I hate when people actually like I really hate when people apologize. They're like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, for what? You're being a human. You're upset over something. Like some people have a reaction of crying. Some people have a reaction of yelling and screaming. Like it's just we all react to strong emotions differently. That's why psychologists talk about the fight and flight response. Like people have different reactions to stress and strong emotions. So I'm 100% fine to cry for you to cry in front of me. It is not, I don't hold it against you. I don't think it's weird. I think it's incredibly human. And I also, and this maybe just personally, like I feel very honored that you would be vulnerable like that in front of me. So I do approach it with the utmost respect, which is something that Chestnut does say in her book, um, that type fours are very respectful of the emotions of other people because honestly we want to be respected for our emotions and our humanness. Also, this is the weakness is Beatrice Chestnut. She quotes Naranjo, Ikazo Naranjo. I may have said that wrong. It's Naranjo. I've heard of him before. He was a Brazilian Enneagram guy. I believe he was a psychologist. But he explains, unlike other people who forget and resign themselves, type fours harbor a keen sense of lost paradise. And then this is not his quote, this is Chestnut. Fours thus end up seeing themselves as not good enough to be loved as a way of defending against opening up to the possibility of love, because allowing themselves to hope for love leaves them vulnerable to the worst kind of pain. The re-experience of that early loss and the confirmation of their worthlessness that goes with it. So I will say, my first relationship, I was in college, and when the guy broke up with me, like I felt absolutely worthless because I was not having I did not have guys knocking on my door or sliding into my DMs because I don't even know if DMs were a thing at the time. And yet I had two roommates who, I mean, like one of them was literally getting asked out every week. The other one would always have a boyfriend, and or she was like in a very she was like, this sounds bad, but like having like a fling. Like she would have like, this is college, like she would have a guy who wasn't her boyfriend, but like she spent a lot of time with him. And they were together for like months kind of thing. So, and even when she was in committed relationships, she would have these other guys like hit on her, and she would tell them I have a boyfriend, and they like didn't care. And so even though I think that is incredibly disrespectful and no one should ever put up with that, it doesn't matter what your gender is, that is absolutely disrespectful to do. It still made me feel like I am your ugly friend. I am uninteresting. I have nothing to give because no one ever asked me out. I think I honestly, I have been asked out on a date once, one time. um, by someone who is a friend and who I love and adore, but just like really was not. I just wasn't attracted to him, like physically and emotionally. Like I just think we weren't going to see eye to eye. Like I could just tell because he was a friend who I I loved and I cared for, but like just wasn't good friends with him. Also, I'd hate to ruin that relationship, you know? So I have just never felt good about that. And it took me many, 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 many years, my late 20s, 29 to be exact, before I was like, maybe I do have something to offer. um, and so, and to add on to that, when Chestnut says like, they feel like type fours feel like opening themselves up to the vulnerability of like maybe being in love or having a close friendship, that leaves them kind of like vulnerable to their early feelings of worthlessness. And yeah, I mean, and maybe I'm sure people can relate to this too. Like, I had a friend who I was really close with, I shared a lot of things with, and she did something I didn't agree with. I was, incredibly kind about it. Like, I wasn't disrespectful. I was very respectful. I literally just stuck to the facts and I told her, like, you did this. This is what it tells me. Like, you just don't care about me, basically. Um, and she started off kind and then gaslit me, literally gaslit me. Um, and that, that really reinforced a lot of those beliefs of like, I am worthless. There's something wrong with me because this doesn't happen to everybody. When in actuality, it probably happened to a lot of people. If it has happened to you and you feel comfortable sharing it, please do in the comments. I actually did get to talk to another type four about the situation. And like, she was like, oh my God, she's like, something very similar happened. And she told me the story. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm not the only one. I'm not as defective as I think. Um, so that is something to also remember about type fours. We are incredibly sensitive, and we do have a lot of empathy for people, which is like a really beautiful thing, but sometimes it really sucks. Like, I wish I was not so sensitive. I'm gonna drink some more. Mm-hmm. The tea is cold, guys. It is cold, which means I probably need to wrap up. I see I've been on here for almost 30 minutes. Let's go to some of my notes that I made. So these were some of the like next steps that I really wanted to focus on. And I really like this. Something I really like about, let's just do this. Something that I really like about the Complete Enneagram is that Chestnut will give a lot of this advice and like next steps for each type through their subtypes, which is really cool because it kind of makes sense. Like, subtypes are the way you like interpret the world, like the outside, like things outside of yourself. So it's not really your core, and it's not entirely behavior. It's more just like kind of like an internal reaction to things on the outside. I'm also going to turn up my light. Oh, that was like, I don't know, maybe that's better. All right, so we're going to start with self-preservation fours. This is actually the counter type. So self-preservation for any type just means that there is, you see kind of things in the outside world and you think, I need to hoard certain resources. They can be emotional resources, physical resources, mental resources, anything. Like, I need to hoard those to protect myself. And so I will say self-preservation fours as the counter types, this subtype usually does not relate to a lot of the type 4, like a lot of the behaviors. They will look at the core desires and be like, oh, okay, I do deal with push pull dynamics. I do feel worthless. I do feel defective. They might even use the language of feel and not think. However, they like type 4s get this stereotype for being like an artist and just very like emotional. And they self-preservation 4s usually feel they're a little more practical about their feelings. They oftentimes will be mistyped as type 6s just because they don't feel like they might actually like relate to a lot of the behaviors of a type 6, but in their core, they're not really motivated by a fear of maybe like things not working the way they want to, or a fear of people not liking them. Oh, the rain just got more intense, guys. They're just more motivated by like, I need to be unique, and that's the way I'm going to protect myself in the world, if that makes sense. I hope I said that the right way. I always have a fear that like I'm going to speak too fast on this and like say things that later on I'll cringe at. So here's Chestnut's advice for self-preservation type 4s. She said that they can travel the path from envy, because that's the, what is it? The fixation is on envy. Like that's kind of our vice. They can travel the path from envy to equanimity by relaxing into their feelings more and sharing them with others. So being more okay with their feelings, expressing their feelings to others, thereby allowing themselves more sources of internal and external support. Envy leads self-preservation 4s to believe they have to go it on their own, but by actively seeking out help from others, they can allow themselves to have more room to breathe and relax. Yeah, I thought that. I have nothing else to say. I thought that was good. Social 4. So this is the subtype that I relate to the most. Self-preservation 4 is definitely the lowest for me, but social 4, like, yeah, and I will say subtypes do change. I don't feel like I'm quite a social 4 as much as I used to be, but it's still pretty strong. So social 4s can travel the path from envy to equanimity. And I think when she says equanimity, she's meaning like those feelings of worthlessness, feeling like, oh, I am worthy and like I am equal to other people. That's kind of what she's saying. So they can travel that path from envy to equanimity by doing the work it takes to release their inferiority complex, own their positive qualities, I gotta do it all the time, and enhance their self-confidence. There, yeah. If you are a social 4, it will help you to work on relaxing your self-judgments and negative self-perceptions, to take the risk to see what is positive about you and your life and not get stuck in envious comparisons and shame. This is why I talk about what I'm proud of every week. Also, something that I was thinking about just last night about the Enneagram and what the Enneagram has helped me learn is that the qualities of us, like our qualities as humans, they're good and bad. Like you can see them, it's just perspective. So for example, like I have always hated how like shy and self-conscious I get. Like I absolutely hate that. And I think most people would agree that being self-conscious is just not the way to go. And there's an underlying cause to it, right? However, I will say being more quiet has opened me up to being a better listener and observer. So again, we're looking at two different sides of one thing. and you can call it bad or you can call it good. And that's what I have really seen in the Enneagram. And that's something I have to do a lot is like, is there anything good about this thing that I hate about myself? Because ultimately, like, I wouldn't say everything is bad about myself. So, for example, like, I know my boyfriend would say that something he doesn't like about me, and it's not necessarily bad, like, it's not necessarily like me, it's just like, he's expressed before that like I'm too nice to people. And what if he means to, I think what he's meaning to say is like I don't set boundaries with people, especially strangers. Like I say I'm willing to say yes, maybe a little too much. And it's more just out of it's kind of the type 9 thing, honestly. Like it's more out of like it's less out of people pleasing, more out of like, I just want to make you happy so you'll go away. And so that's something like my boyfriend he doesn't love that I do that, which is really quite sweet. Like I see that as a good thing that he's saying about me, and there's no shame. Like I feel shame, but like I also know he's not trying to shame me. He wants me to stick up for myself. And I've gotten better. I've worked a lot on it. Oh, all that rain, all that rain. Um, so, what was I saying? Yeah, so that's something like my boyfriend said, but also at the same time, I think that same quality has made me very approachable to other people, very approachable. All right, so let's keep going. Last one. Last subtype, sexual fours can travel the path from envy to equanimity by strengthening their ability to be with their own suffering without needing to externalize it or project it onto others. If you are a sexual four, you can grow by seeing all your emotions as equally valuable and important, whether you are feeling envious and angry or sad and vulnerable. So I will say, I had a friend in college who is a sexual type 4, and she could often project her shame. I'll just leave it as that, because I don't want to tell her story. That's not appropriate. Like that's not and disrespectful. That's her job, not mine. Um, but yeah, she would often like project some kind of shame or emotion, and would often not express emotion as much as she could have. And sometimes when she did express it, there was a clear amount of like shame associated with, being like, I'm just mad. And it's like, why? Like she wouldn't, I think it was just like embarrassing for her. So yeah, so that's the stuff about type 4s. A lot of good stuff. There's a ton of other things. I mean, these chapters on my Kindle, it says they take about an hour and like 40 minutes to read. So there's a lot of good stuff. And that's about it. So next week I will be here with type 3s. I will say, I'm just going to go ahead and give you guys a heads up. Let me look at my calendar really fast because I really don't want to misspeak. Today is the 8th. We're doing type 4s. Next week we will do type 3s. And then the week after that, type 2s. And then the week after that, I will have my event from a little side business. And so I will not be able to do type 1s that week. We'll have to do it the following week on that Saturday, which should be, I think, May 6th. We'll wrap up the Complete Enneagram, which I'm excited for. Like, I feel like it's just been like a labor of love to read this whole thing. And it's been really good and it's been worth it. So, I think that's about it. I hope you guys have a fantastic week wherever you are. Whatever you do this week, I hope it is good. And if it's not good, I hope you can find some kind of comfort, some kind of time to Um, be comfortable with yourself. And also, I need to start saying this. If you do like my content, please click the Buy Me a Coffee button at the top of my page because I really like coffee and tea, obviously. And I will see you guys next week to talk about type threes.